Hello and welcome to the Remedy Fibers podcast, a podcast about knitting and crochet hosted by me, Jillian. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're a returner, thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Today we have a review of my finished object, the Trilo Tee by Sachiko Burgin. I'll tell you everything you need to know from the good, what made me pull my hair out, as well as what some other knitters thought about making this tee, so stay tuned. But if you're new here, I live in Northern California with my husband and dog Benny. I love everything yarn related and I hope you stay for my yarn journey. So let's get right into it. I love this top. I feel like it is so classy, luxurious, and I never knit with gray before. It feels like it's a everyday just throw on kind of piece. So this pattern is the Trilo Tee by designer Sachiko Burgin, and it was released in January of 2022. The reason why I picked this pattern was because I bought the yarn first and then I was looking for a pattern to match it. And so this pattern does call for a lace weight or even a mohair weight type of yarn. So it has that luxurious, airy, lofty feel. So this design does come in 9 different sizes 1 through 9, for bust measurements 35 all the way to 70. The recommended needle size are US 7 as well as US 5s, but after I talk about my gauge swatch, you will see that I did have to go up a needle size to meet gauge. So what drew me to this design was that it was short sleeves, it had that tee-like look, and it also matched the yarn that I already had in stash. So as for the construction of the tee, it is bottom up. It was my first time ever using charts, but don't get scared. The charts were very easy to understand. It's pretty much fully seamless except when you have to seam the underarm stitch. But you knit bottom up, it has lace construction, and then you knit the sleeves separately, which was pretty challenging for me. And then you join everything in the round, you knit all the way to the neck, and then you bind off. So pretty much seamless in the round, all the things that I'm looking for in an easy pattern. It did take me about 2 months to make this, and I'll tell you what was the holdup in a little bit. So let's talk about the yarn that I used. For this pattern, I used Isager Spinni wool, which is a lace weight yarn from Denmark. And I had to do 2 gauge swatches, and the reason for that was because originally I tried to use the recommended US 7. It wasn't working, so I did have to go up a needle size. And overall, I think that it did work out. There is a lot of positive ease in the top, so I think even if I used the US 7, it still would have fit properly because the pattern is made with positive ease in mind. But I do love the flowy nature of it. I love how it fits. I also don't think that it's too see-through, even though I do have to wear a tank top when I'm wearing this out. So the recommended yarn is mohair weight. So if you have some mohair in stash that you're willing to use up, this is definitely a great pattern for that because it's really going to bring out that fluffy, luxurious, airy texture. But you can also use a lace weight flat. So this is considered a flat lace weight because it doesn't have any mohair, any fuzz. That also will work to use this pattern for. So if you're asking yourself, could I really knit this? You can, because even though there's lace work, it's very easy to read and understand. Bottom up, once you finish that lace portion, you are in stockinette territory, which goes by so fast. And then everything else, there are some video tutorials within the pattern, such as grafting for the underarms. You can search up how to add sleeves to a bottom-up sweater. I did have to search that up because I never did that before. And I also think it was helpful that positive ease was built into the design because you can kind of falter if you knit a size too small or too big. There's positive ease so that it can fit you towards the end of the project. So let's get juicy with it. I did write down some of the notes that other knitters who made this, what their actual thoughts were. So one person said that if they were going to knit this again, they would want to add short rows to the neck. So this one, once you start working on the neck portion, it's just in the round until you finish it. I honestly think that it looks perfect like this. I love how it looks, but I guess if you want a shorter front and a longer back, then you can include short rows, up to your preference. The next person said that it's soft and luxurious. I definitely have to agree with that, especially if I was to use a mohair. I think I want to knit this again with a mohair type of yarn, just so I can experience that, and something that has lots of color in the mohair so it can be fun to knit up as well. Another recommendation was using the Jenny Surprisingly Stretchy Cast On, because someone did say that after they finished the sweater knitting with it, that the hem did break because of the gentle and very sensitive nature of the yarn. So they would either do a more stretchy cast on or something to prevent that in the future. I would say as for the hem, I think it's pretty good for me, but when I did have to connect yarn or if I was pulling too tightly, the yarn was easy to break. The next person said it's a to use DPNs. And I must agree, I tried DPNs, I tried Magic Loop, nothing was working, and that's really why it took me almost 2 months to finish this. I think if I was to knit this again, it would be so much faster, maybe less than a month, a few weeks, maybe even faster than that, because the DPNs were so fiddly, especially with the amount of stitches that you have to cast on and working with such a thin yarn. It felt impossible. So this project was left abandoned for quite some time until I purchased 9-inch circulars in US 8s. Once I did that, I was able to work up the sleeves, one in one day, one the next day, and then it was easy going from there. So I did get a recommendation that I can also use 12-inch circulars for sleeves, so I might look into that if I have to do something like this again, just because that was the most struggle that I've ever worked with sleeves. Normally sleeves are fun for me, but this one, Sleeve Island, really hit. Another person wrote, which I didn't think about this until after wearing it, is that they really appreciated how much room was in the sleeves. And they said for having larger upper arms, that sometimes their arms are suffocating, and I have experienced that as well. There's been times where either I cast off too tightly or the way that the designer has made the stitches is just not comfortable for the sleeves. And this one, I would have to say there's a lot of positive ease, there's a lot of room in the sleeves, it's very comfortable and airy, and I do appreciate that as well. Another person recommended doing an I-cord bind off for the neck cast off. I didn't do that. I followed the pattern exactly. I didn't have any modifications in this pattern, and it really worked out for me, but that might be something that you might want to consider. And last but not least, the last person said clear instructions and clear charts, which 100% so easy to read. I didn't feel lost at any point in time other than some of the learning curves for joining the sleeves to the body, but that was something that I was able to search on YouTube. So my overall rating is I highly recommend this. If you're a beginner garment maker, adventurous beginner, there were some things that I learned from making this, and I always appreciate that. It taught me new skills. I like the positive ease. It felt like I was wearing nothing all day, and it's so comfortable. And lastly, I just love that it's soft, lightweight, and I would like this in lots of many colors. Thank you. Next up, I wanted to talk a little bit about the designer Sachiko Burgin. So she is actually a twin, and both her and her sisters both design knit design patterns. But even though they're twins, they did it right on their website that their aesthetics are completely different, so definitely check them both out. They have a website that I will link below, but it's called Kiyomi and Sachiko, and they both have separate Instagram accounts as well. So a little bit about Sachiko is that she actually studied metalsmithing and jewelry design, but she likes to experiment with different forms of construction as well as designs, which is infused in her knitwear as well. In her downtime, she does enjoy machine knitting, vegan baking, making music, studying the Japanese language, as well as writing music. Her patterns have been published in Pom Pom Quarterly, Lane, Knit Pearl, as well as many other publications. Her designs include anything from socks, shawls, accessories, pullovers, tanks, tees. If you're looking for a new designer, definitely don't forget to check her and her sister out. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. I want to shed light on designers as well as designers of diverse backgrounds, because I think it's important to share our creativity as well as the hard work that does go into these designs. I was recently watching the Black Sheep Knitter. She's a new podcaster on YouTube. If you haven't checked her out, definitely check her out. But she was saying how a lot of people are knitting the same designs, the same designers, the same colors, and I was like, wow, I was just thinking that. And there's just so much wealth of knowledge and creativity to expand around what is in or what is trending, as well as giving credit to how much dedication and work goes into designing something like this. So if you have designers that you recommend, patterns that you think I should check out, definitely comment down below, because it is the new year and I'm looking for all of them. So thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the Trilo Tee and if you'll try it out as well. I hope that you and your family are happy, healthy, and safe, and I hope to see you next week. Take care. Bye.